Louis Buda has written in and said, what were your plans in ECW after Guilty as Charged 2001 if the company didn't fold?
Uh, when I first went to ECW, right before I went, right in between WCW and ECW, I had a tryout match with WWF against Taka Michinoku on one of those Friday night specials.
Mm-hmm.
And then JR had told me at the time, he says, well, we can't promise you anything right now. We're just trying to get this light heavyweight thing off the ground. And I said, okay. So when I started ECW, someone called me up and said, you're on Raw tonight. I said, I can't be. I haven't done any TV. They said, well, you're in the brackets for the light heavyweight tournament. And I said, really? I said, they haven't even called me and asked me. So I called up Cornette to see what was going on. And he said, he told me what was going on. And I said, well, I called Paul Lee and told him what was going on. And I, I already committed to ECW. And Paul Lee, he said, well, don't do it unless they put you over. And I said, you're right. But I knew they weren't going to put me over anyway, but since I wasn't under contract with them. So I called up Cornette and told him, I can't do it. I've already committed to ECW, which is, no, maybe it was, yeah, it was Cornette. Well, after the tournament happened and I wasn't there, JR called me and said, well, what happened? I said, well, you told me that day you couldn't promise me anything, and I'd already committed to ECW. And he understood, and he'd said, well, I just want to let you know when you're done there, you always have an open door here. So when ECW folded, they had, I think, Raw was coming in Minneapolis, and so I called up JR and asked him if he'd want to have a meeting, went down there, and JR signed me.
You sort of come in before the invasion, so at least you weren't tarred with that brush with the invasion guys, I guess, when you came in. What were the plans immediately as far as just putting the light heavyweight title on you? Did you feel that WWF would actually do right by this division and have like a proper cruiserweight thing going on?
Well, I, you never know. What didn't make sense to me was they told me, all right, you're a heel with no rhyme or reason. I thought, uh, most of my career I've been a babyface, and all of a sudden I'm a heel with no rhyme or reason. At least let me do something bad to Jeff Hardy, instant heel, something like that. So it didn't make sense to me. And then and I didn't even know what was happening until I got into, I think it was in Chicago, and they said, when I got there, they said, oh, we're going to put the light heavyweight strap on you. You're going over Crash. I was like, okay. And they said, but you're a heel and you're going to cheat to win. I go, okay. And I cheated, won, the place still popped. And I get in the back and Paulie says, wow, he says, they're really surprised of the reaction you got. I said, why? I said, this was one of our big towns in ECW. And I said, even years before that, I did a lot of indies in Chicago, driving from Minneapolis to Chicago back and forth. So I've always worked a lot in Chicago. But, and then not long after I got there is when they bought WCW and ECW. Now we had too many guys. They had twice as many wrestlers as they needed. And a lot of them were built up superstars. And so I got hurt 6 months in and I knew I was very expendable. That's the business though.
Yeah.